Our National Investigative Unit has uncovered steps to protect kids from vaping are failing, with a federal crackdown being ignored and health agencies not fully enforcing the law. All on the eve of a key e-cigarette deadline tomorrow, when vaping manufacturers must justify to the FDA why their products should stay on the market or risk having them removed.
Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert has the story.
We have 2 trays here. These have all been confiscated.
You're looking at the latest draw for teens at Rio Americano High School in Sacramento, California. Students sucked in by the allure of a quick fix from a vaping device.
It's illegal to have them on campus.
One tray, nicotine fueled. The other, loaded with THC, the mind-altering compound in cannabis. Rob Kerr is vice principal.
This is an illicit drug.
Yeah, you can't concentrate when you're using THC all day. They're marketed towards youth.
You have no doubt that they're marketed toward youth.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the packages. There's a Smurf. They're feeling the effects of being nicotine dependent, THC dependent. They're scared.
I felt horrible the morning after, and my lungs kind of hurt a little bit. So after that, I just said no more.
Michael Porter, a junior when we talked to him earlier this year, has asthma. That didn't stop him from vaping, or he says, lying the next morning.
My mom asked me, why do you smell like cucumber? And I just told her there was an air freshener in my friend's house.
You lied to your mom.
I did.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I feel like she'd been disappointed, because she always said, never smoke, never vape.
Did you tell her now?
No, I did not.
You have not told her that you tried vaping?
I have not.
What's going to happen when she sees this interview?
She's going to be shocked.
Porter is among the estimated 1 out of every 4 high school students who have tried vaping. And new research shows teens who use e-cigarettes are up to 7 times more likely to get COVID-19 than non-vapers.
The highest single year-over-year increases that we've ever seen for any substance ever.
Dr. Brian King at the CDC in Atlanta says vaping companies created a sweet lure to reel in young customers. Fruity flavors.
The advertising will lead a horse to water, the flavors will get him to drink, and the nicotine keeps him coming back for more. That's the trifecta of factors that have influenced youth use in this country. Flavors are among the primary reason that youth report using these products, and that most youth e-cigarette users first start with a flavored variety.
Just 2 days into 2020, the FDA effectively banned the manufacture, distribution, and sale of unauthorized fruit and mint-flavored single-use e-cigarette pods to try and stem the epidemic. Enforcement began February 1st.
So most flavored pods are no longer for sale?
Yes.
And that's to keep them out of the hands of children?
Yes.
Regular mango right here.
We wanted to know if those products, so seductive experts say to minors, could still be bought after the deadline. So the National Investigative Unit went undercover in February and March to try to buy fruit and mint flavors in stores from Georgia to California. And we did.
Oh, this is pineapple? Yeah. So strawberry, pineapple, and mango. And do you have grape too? Is that a grape, Jewel?
We bought fruit-flavored pods at this shop in Las Vegas.
So you got pineapple, apple.
And this one nearby, which even had products from Juul, the king of e-cigarettes in America.
Are you a flavor, Jewel?
Fruit melody, creme brulee, cucumber, mint. Which one?
2 stops in a row now. Our undercover cameras found these flavored Juul vaping pods 3 months after the company says it voluntarily took them off the market nationwide. But we found cucumber and mint, fruit medley, and creme brulee. We even found them in Juul's backyard, less than 4 miles from the company's nondescript headquarters at the time, where this shop doubled the price.
So how hard is it to get the pods now? Like the flavored?
Someone needs to come here and he drops it for us.
Oh, he just drops it for you?
Yes.
We do not know who that someone might be. Juul declined an interview request for this story. In a statement, it said it has not sold fruit, creme, mango, or cucumber since 2018, and that the ones we bought could be leftover, diverted from another country, or counterfeit. Its CEO testified before Congress earlier this year.
Trust in our company and category has eroded. We know some of our past actions have contributed to that erosion, and we are committed to taking concrete action to re-earn that trust. Underage use rates remain unacceptably high.
Clever marketing. And you're using this in your lawsuit.
We're using every bit of information we can to prove that
These companies knew what they were doing.
California's Attorney General is now suing Juul, alleging it marketed to and targeted teens under 18 with ads such as these. So we showed Javier Becerra what we found in our investigation. We've got mint, creme brulee, cucumber, fruit medley. These flavors are still on sale, even though the company says it stopped selling them in November. Is that acceptable?
I'm planning to use this video in our trial if I can, because what we're showing is that there are companies that are not being responsible in the way that they are marketing their products. You're a reporter. You get to go out there and do this type of investigative reporting, which many of us not only applaud, but may use, as I said, in court.
And at Rio Americano High School, where vaping warning signs now feature prominently on Vice Principal Rob Kerr's walls.
It's dangerous and it's scary.
Parent Ann Delcor helped launch an anti-vaping alliance, hoping to stop other kids from being sucked in.
The needs are absolutely immediate.
Right now.
Right now.
In Sacramento, I'm Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert.
The first in the nation caucuses are tonight in Iowa.
But as Americans start picking a president, our National Investigative Unit found out that a lot of counties and states all across the country, well, they use websites that lack basic security measures.
Here's Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert. Mark?
Travers and Christina, good evening. We asked a worldwide cyber firm to look at more than 1,000 websites in 27 states that voters use all the time. What we found is eye-opening. When you stream a movie at home, you're watching from a secured website. That's what that S means. So if Netflix uses it, why don't local election websites? When I buy an airline ticket, I'm on a secure website.
Correct.
When I do my banking, I'm on a secure website. You're saying about half of county election websites are not secure.
That's right.
Steve Grobman is the Chief Technology Officer for McAfee. In an analysis for the National Investigative Unit by the worldwide cybersecurity firm, only 16% of counties in 13 battleground states use .gov websites, which are validated by the federal government. It's even lower in Iowa and New Hampshire. And nearly half of those battleground counties use websites that are not secured. Here's Iowa. I only see 8 counties of the 99 that have websites validated by the federal government and using security.
Exactly. And we need it to really be 100%. This is not difficult.
Sounds like a big problem.
It is a big problem.
Even if a website doesn't handle votes, registration, or results, the unencrypted county website could be spoofed with an encrypted one, sending out fake emails like this example with false voter information or containing malicious links.
It would be very difficult to determine which one is real.
Wow. So we showed top election officials across the country how their states fared and asked a simple question. Do you believe that every county should be using both .gov and encryption?
Yes.
They absolutely should.
They should. Obviously.
Do all of the above.
I've ordered them to.
Ohio fared poorly in a snapshot just 2 weeks ago. But now most election websites are on a federally verified domain.
We'll have all 88 counties in Ohio transitioned over to .gov in short order.
Since our investigation into election security began in 2018, we've seen the Department of Homeland Security and others prod and plead with local governments to patch cybersecurity gaps.
If you have a .gov address, allows the public to know to trust what's coming from you.
Some secretaries told us resources are a problem in smaller counties. But we've learned the total cost to move to a .gov domain is just $400 a year. On the scale of threats to the election, how critical is this?
This is very critical. We need to focus on this starting now.
The best state in our exclusive nationwide analysis? Arizona. Remember, the FBI says the Russians attempted to penetrate or scanned election sites in all 50 states in 2016. But it's important to note that authorities and McAfee have not publicly shown any evidence that county election sites have been penetrated so far in 2020. Travers, Christina, back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you.
A major update now to our year-long investigation in the new allegations of child sexual abuse and cover-ups inside of a religious organization here in the U.S. Justices have tossed out a landmark verdict that awarded millions to an abuse survivor. Our chief national investigative correspondent, Mark Albert, joining us live in Washington now with the latest on this. Mark.
Kelly, good afternoon. This unanimous ruling from the Montana Supreme Court erases a $35 million jury verdict. And it upholds a state law that says religious leaders are not required to tell authorities about confidential child sexual abuse allegations.
The defendants did not report a known child abuser, and then Lexi continued to be abused.
As the National Investigative Unit reported in September, attorneys for Lexi Nunez tried to convince the Montana Supreme Court that Jehovah's Witnesses failed to comply with the state's mandatory reporter law. Some justices expressed skepticism.
Do we really want to be looking into what's going on within church circles? And doesn't that bring us right up against the First Amendment?
Now the 7 justices all agree. Clergy are accepted from the law. In an 18-page opinion, they wrote, quote, Jehovah's Witnesses canon law, church doctrine, or established church practice require that the reports of abuse in this case be kept confidential. An elder at the congregation where Lexi's abuser attended defended the Kingdom Hall's actions.
Do you feel as though this Kingdom Hall should have done anything differently?
I don't know what it would have been.
Lexi Nunez could still appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, but it rarely overturns state Supreme Court rulings. The Jehovah's Witnesses, in a statement to us this morning, said, quote, there are no winners. No child should ever be subjected to such a debased crime. Kelly, back to you.
12 investigates a major new lawsuit today against the Boy Scouts of America, the first federal one of its kind.
Our National Investigative Unit has a television exclusive as we hear from a victim challenging one of America's oldest organizations for youth. Chief National Investigative Correspondent Mark Albert joins us live tonight from our nation's capital. Mark, good evening.
Kenny and Brianna, good evening. The attorneys are suing on behalf of 8 men, but provided us a database with the details on 1,500 people they represent who say they were abused while in the Boy Scouts. The ages 5 to 19 at the time of the alleged abuse, which they say occurred between 1945 and as recently as last year. How many years were you in scouting?
9 or 10. Rick rose all the way to Eagle Scout, the highest scouting rank, while concealing a secret, he says, about one of his scout leaders in Florida, who he claims sexually abused him for 3 years.
This is somebody you trusted?
Absolutely.
A leader?
One would hope.
And did this person betray you?
100%. Rick and several other scouts are part of a new lawsuit against the Boy Scouts of America, alleging, quote, rampant sexual abuse and efforts to cover up the extensive evidence in its files. Rick is listed as one of 8 John Does, so we're not using his last name.
How old are you today?
38.
And so it's been a quarter century since this happened.
It has. I do feel the pain because while what happened to me was wrong and absolutely not okay, I'm confident in my mind with 100% certainty that much worse happened to many others, which breaks my heart for them.
Tip of a much, much larger iceberg.
Eitan Goldman is one of Rick's attorneys.
Did the Boy Scouts of America know about this problem years ago?
Oh, there's no question that they did.
No question?
No, they've known about it for generations.
And do you believe that they failed to stop some of this abuse?
Absolutely. They were really a magnet for child predators.
It's the latest case against the Boy Scouts. The organization sent the National Investigative Unit a response it issued after a lawsuit in Pennsylvania in August. It reads in part, quote, first and foremost, we care deeply about all victims of child abuse and sincerely apologize to anyone who was harmed during their time in scouting. We are outraged that there have been times when individuals took advantage of our program to abuse innocent children. It points to a web page listing youth protection policies and a phone and email helpline it is now established.
I want them to take accountability.
For this Eagle Scout, the scouting oath to help other people at all times still resonates deeply.
I do not want to drive the Boy Scouts into bankruptcy. I don't want to see that organization destroyed. I learned a lot of wonderful life lessons there, but I want to see things change because it's unacceptable for it to continue to happen.
The Boy Scouts also acknowledged some cases, quote, were not addressed in a manner consistent with our commitment to protect Scouts, values of our organization, and the procedures we have in place today. The attorneys for the alleged victims say they decided to go to court now in case the Boy Scouts were to file for bankruptcy soon, which would make it much tougher for cases like this to be filed. Kenny and Brianna, back to you.
Mark Albert live tonight in Washington, D.C. Many thanks. You can read today's lawsuit online at WXII12.com. And we are committed to uncovering sexual abuse in institutions of trust in America. Our exclusive investigation, Silent No More, revealed new allegations of child sex abuse and decade-long cover-ups inside the Jehovah's Witnesses Church. You can watch our 4-part series right now online at WXII12.com. One of the plaintiffs filing the lawsuit alleges the abuse happened at a Boy Scout troop here in the state of North Carolina. Plaintiff Doe 2, as he is called in the lawsuit, says he was sexually abused by his assistant scoutmaster. We are not naming that assistant scoutmaster to protect the identity of the victim here. The alleged abuse started around 1992 and continued for 2 years, according to the lawsuit. Boy Scout leaders allegedly suspected the abuse, but the suspect threatened to kill the boy or his mother if he told anyone. Doe 2 eventually did tell his scoutmaster about the alleged abuse, and the scoutmaster reported it to local authorities. According to North Carolina's inmate registry, a man by that same name was convicted of indecent liberties with a child and did serve time in prison. Doe 2 is one of 32 people who say they were abused in scouting here in the state of North Carolina. The men say they were between the ages of 18 to 17 at the time of the alleged incidents. Most of the 1,500 men the legal team represents nationwide have not filed lawsuits because the statute of limitations had expired in their states.
Now to our 9-month-long investigation of vaping, and this one began even before the pandemic. Today was a long-awaited deadline for the makers of e-cigarette products to tell the FDA why their products are not harmful to our health and what the manufacturers are doing to prevent children from using them. But our National Investigative Unit has uncovered that some companies are not telling the truth about what's in their product. Our investigation, called Sucked In: America's Vaping Epidemic, continues now with Chief Investigator Mark Albert.
I started feeling gravely ill.
What does that mean, gravely ill?
I felt like I was almost dying inside.
Jay Patel had been the picture of living, skiing 18 miles, running 150 miles in 10 days, keeping up with his 2 young kids. This is Patel 3 years after he started vaping, on a ventilator with double pneumonia and lungs that look like broken glass, he says. His wife, Monica, sat at his bedside.
I just could not believe this was happening to me. It was a very scary time for us, and I was 35, and I thought, am I going to be a widow?
They came to a conclusion that I had electronic vaping associated lung injury. I didn't think one could get this sick from vaping.
Patel is believed to have been one of Georgia's first vaping injury cases. He's now suing Juul Labs, the company that made Jay's vaping products. Juul declined to make its CEO available for an interview and has not yet responded to the allegations in court. It has said it submitted 110 studies to the FDA, evaluating its products' impacts on public health. Patel's attorney, Jake Plattenberger, fears the long-term effects for many.
These products in particular were put on the market without any kind of oversight.
Was that a dereliction of responsibility?
Yeah, I think so.
You're saying then that every day that somebody buys these, there's a new potential victim?
Absolutely, and not only that, but the people that currently have some, kind of low-level lung disease, they're going to continue to get worse. There can be dozens and dozens of chemicals in a flavoring. We need a lot more detail and a lot more information on exactly what is in this stuff.
So we wanted to find out what exactly is in some popular products from other manufacturers. The National Investigative Unit bought 10 items from stores across the country and paid 374 labs in Sparks, Nevada to test them. Jeff Angerman is the director at the lab, which has tested more than 30,000 samples. So 9 of the 10 were wrong.
That's correct.
His lab found out of the 10 samples we sent,
not one was accurate. Half did not have any CBD, a legal chemical from the hemp plant, even though all 5 claimed they did. And 2 had THC, without disclosing it on the label. THC, the part of marijuana that makes you feel high, could lead to failed drug tests or disqualified sports results, and can be illegal to travel with in some areas. The company that makes the Heritage vape pen told us it will change the label to disclose the presence of THC. I'm just wondering if the average person knows what they're actually buying when they pick out these products.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You can't trust the label in some cases.
You cannot trust the label.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like it's buyer beware.
Absolutely.
Another lab, Infinite Cal, says it found nearly 2/3 of the vaping cartridges it tested failed for pesticides. Were you surprised when you found some of these products had pesticides?
No, we've been seeing this trend for a couple months.
We spoke to the lab's Brandon Kenton in Las Vegas at the largest CBD convention in the U.S., selling hundreds of vaping products. But many are not marketing transparency. At the time of this convention, the National Investigative Unit found 56% of the companies here that sold vaping products did not have a certificate of analysis, or COA, on their website, meaning consumers would have no independent way to know what's actually in the products, like some products at a company called The Remedy. They weren't happy to see us. So just to be clear, right now, the public cannot see independently what's in these products.
No, they cannot.
Isn't that a problem?
Not if the product is legitimate. We make good products.
And we have to take your word for it.
Yes.
That seems a little unbelievable, right?
That as problematic. You can take your business elsewhere. Thank you.
Please don't touch the microphone.
All right, then please get the out of my face.
Please don't swear at me. The company's marketing director, Don Willis, later apologized via email, writing, quote, "Such a reaction is not the way our company has or will conduct itself in the future." We also stopped by the United Natural Hemp Extracts booth. So it's not on the website, and when we called to get it, you guys wouldn't send it to us. So somebody has to buy the product or come to a convention like this to be able to see what's inside the product.
Essentially, yes.
After this exchange, the VP of Sales, Tim McCarthy, chased us down to tell us he worries someone will use his COA as their own.
I wouldn't want someone taking that, photoshopping it, and putting it out on their own as their own.
But is that a reason not to give them out to the public?
Correct.
If those consumers were more educated on what was actually in the product, that it would be a deterrent.
For Jay Patel, he's thankful he can still walk hand in hand with his wife after being sucked in by vaping.
It disgusts me, not only just seeing it and the smell, but what could happen to them, and it's only a matter of time.
KCRA 3 investigates. I'm Mark Albert in Atlanta.
Well, tomorrow we'll show you what some schools are doing to try to prevent vaping use by children and how vaping detectors work. This is our Sucked In, America's Vaping Epidemic investigation, and it continues tomorrow night here on KCRA 3.